Hello everybody. My name is Yelena. I'm one of the graduate assistants in the data analytics program. So today we're going to have a session on R, Introduction to R, and R Studio to help you get started with your Data 630 work. So here is an agenda tonight. We'll talk about what you need to install. We're going to talk about the R Studio environment interface, how to save all your commands in an R script. We'll talk about using variables. We're going to talk about how to read data. Pay attention from CSV file, right? Not just the data that was pre-installed. We're going to talk about the data frame properties and descriptive statistics, data visualization, and more. Okay, so now this is a screenshot of the data set that we're going to use for this demonstration. And this is where the data was taken from. Basically, the idea is the data tracks based on employee job satisfaction, number of years after last evaluation, number of projects the person was on, right? We're looking at if the employee was retained, employee retention data, right? So in theory, if I was going to predict something, I was going to build a model here, I would predict if the employee stayed or left the company, right? So here is my data, this is how it looks like. But before we do that, you might be wondering, what is R and what are its advantages? Well, R is a language for statistical data analysis, and it works well also in education setting, right? Because it's free and it has excellent data visualization capability. Then you may save the commands in a script because you want the work to be reproducible, right? There is excellent online documentation, and the language continues to grow. There are new packages as we speak. And also, as you'll see later in Data 650, you can use R with databases, and it supports the parallel processing. Now, and also what I like is that there is more than one way to produce the same result. But does R solve all problems? No, right? It does not solve all problems. R itself does not have graphical user interface. You need to learn how to read the help pages. Our language is case sensitive, and I believe Python is also, right? So you need to keep on updating packages regularly. And this one, I don't know, you may or may not have noticed that to install R and R Studio, you have to have a local admin rights for your PC, right? If you don't have admin password, you won't be able to do the installation. Now, also you can embed R into the web-based application, but the performance is a little bit slower than Python or Java. Sorry, you cannot embed R in the web-based application, and the performance is slower than Python and Java. So that's the disadvantages, right? Now, what you need to install, two things. You need to install R, latest version, and at the moment, this is the latest version, 4.1.1, this is the latest. There is a web page where you download for Windows and a separate web page for Mac. So you install R, and then you can install the R Studio version, right? One thing to remember is that R Studio runs on top of R. So if you don't download R, and if you download the R Studio without R, it's not gonna work. It's gonna give you an error. You have to install R and then R Studio, okay? Just remember that, and most of you have done it already, I hope. Now, well, what is R Studio? It's an integrated environment, and it's running on top of R, and you may preview the data and the variables, etc. And it supports nice code execution because it can also highlight certain portions of the code, such as keywords, right? And it allows you to format, if you will, right? Format the code files now. And you also may preview the values in environment tab. But to be honest, I recommend doing everything programmatically, not relying on Windows, on different menus, because sometimes you won't have them in front of you, right? So do as much as you can programmatically, because you also want to be able to reproduce your work easily, right? So, and we're going to talk about the R scripts, but I'll be doing more like hands-on right now. So look at this. This is what you're going to see when you install it, right? There is nothing in the environment because I just started working with it, right? So this here is this is the R version that I have, right? But if not sure, you can run version command, right? And it's gonna tell you what your version have right now. It's either R dot version or version, right? Two correct answers. Uh Now what else? What is this? This is here. This window is here as a console. So when you run the command, they'll be echoed in here, and you're gonna see the output in here. As well, in this window, you're gonna see any errors and warnings, right? Or any messages that are informative. You're gonna see the output here too, right? Now at the top in here, this is environment. Well, this is history. You can see that I was doing something here, right? Long time ago, I was doing something, so it's gonna save the history. Well, here you don't worry about this for this course, right? And here, if you wanted to, there is a package that you can install and take the tutorial, and I'll explain what the package is. Okay. Oops, what happened? Do you still see my screen? Let me reshare. Do you see my screen?
No, we don't.
Okay, I'm gonna reshare it. Not a problem. Oh, okay. Okay, share screen. Okay. Okay, now we are good. Okay, now, well, here, this is files. It's gonna give you the files in the current working directory. So what is working directory? It's a folder where R is going to look at by default. If I don't specify in each folder to look at, this is what it's gonna look at. Plots, it's basically where my visualizations are. I have not done anything yet right now, but this is where I'm gonna see them. Packages, well, package is just it's just a bundle of the code, right? It's a set of code, method definitions. There are some data sets that could be part of it, right? And some documentation. So, and there are two types of packages, or they also call the library. The system library, this part here is pre-installed, right? And in fact, you already been using datasets package because the iris dataset that you were asked to use in your first exercise, it's part of this datasets packages, right? It's pre-installed. But some of the methods that you're going to run are not available in the system library. What you'll have to do is you will need to install the packages, and I'll show you how. But if you see this here, I already installed a rules package. This is a user library. This is what I installed, right? On top of what was pre-installed for me. And you're gonna need it for the exercise 2 and exercise 3, right? You're gonna need this. It's going to be a first package that you will use. Okay, now help. This is excellent. You can just, when you run the command, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. When you want to see the help page, it's going to display here. See, you can read it. It's a lot of useful information here. For each method, it gives you the input parameters it takes, and it gives you some examples. So R has excellent help system, right? So now what we will do is, next thing, it's I mentioned the R script, right? The work that you do needs to be reproducible for several reasons. Number one, the work cannot be done in one sitting. So when I come back, I need to be able to get back to where I stopped, right? Number two, there is no undo button. So if I did something silly like deleted the variable or deleted the data frame, right? I should be able to reproduce it, right? There is no undo, but I can just rerun my code and that's it, right? Another thing is that you need to submit the script, but that's a separate story. But the thing is then also, if I want to redo what I just did, right? I won't be able to remember where I clicked at, right? It's much easier to rerun the code. So how do you going to create the code, write the code? You're gonna have to do new file and you're gonna do R script, right? So it's a file with extension .r. And you type your code in here, like for example, I can type version, right? And it's gonna return the system, it's gonna return the R version. And I can run it like this, see? I run, usually, oops, when I run it, I do one line at a time, not sure what it's doing. And save. Oops, okay, now See, I'm gonna do again, file, new file, and R script. Now windows are adjustable. This is what just happened, right? So here it is. I can untype my code here. Then when I click save, and by default, it's gonna be saving it where? Into the working folder. So I'm gonna need to specify the different folder if I want to save in a different file, right? But today, what I did for today's presentation, I wrote the code for you. So you just do, normally you would just do file, open file, and you would navigate to where you saved the file, right? But I'm gonna show you a little shortcut here. I know that perhaps I worked with my file yesterday, right? It's gonna show up in recents. See this? Well, this is what I recently had open, right? That's it. If you don't remember where you saved the file, it's gonna show in recents, right? So this is a file, this is a code that I prepared for you for today's session, and I'm gonna make sure to give you a copy of the code, right? But here, this is basically, it's an explanation of what you can do, how you create a new file, right? By default, it's gonna be called untitled, but you need to give it a descriptive name, right? And you're gonna save your comments in that file, right? And I will show you, we're gonna show you how to run the code. So, well, I opened up the script, right? This is a script. Whatever you see in here, after the hashtag, this is a comment. Comment tells you what the code does. In other words, it's a code description. It's a non-executable part of the code, but it's something that kind of helps you document what you did, right? And also, I hope it will help you because I'll give you the copy of this and you will see what I talked about here, right? So now, well, see here, this is basically now it says that we're going to be looking at the environment first, right? And well, you already know this first command. It displays the version of the R that you're running, right? You may have seen this in a current session information. You may have seen it in the walkthrough, right? Then you've got the current date and time. Now, this one, ls, is going to show you what you have in your memory right now. So, well, this is similar to looking at this here. See this? This is similar to looking at this environment window. Or you can also do the objects, right? You run objects, and this will show you what you have in here. Remember, we need to know how to do it programmatically. We don't just, we're not going to have windows all the time, right? Now, here, data is going to give me what I have pre-installed, the data sets that are pre-installed, and you're going to see that Iris is going to be one of them. Iris is a data that was installed with RStudio, right? So you're going to see it, it's in there. Trust me, it's in there. So if you search for it, it's in there. Anyway, so here are the data sets that come with R, and also sometimes the packages that you install may have data sets in them, right? So let's close this out. I'm going to be back. This is my introduction to R, and I'm going to close this untitled thing. Okay, here we go. Now, you may use R as a calculator, right? Like 5 + 9. It's going to do the math for me, right? One thing to notice is, see here, it shows number 1 next to 14. What is this? It's because everything in R is a vector, right? So here it shows me this is an element number 1, right? As a vector contains one element, and this is an element at position number 1. One thing to remember is that in R, the elements will start numbering from 1, right? If you may recall from last class in Python, you started from 0. This in R, you're starting from 1. So remember that, right? Now here, this is a I'm doing the calculation, but nothing is in my environment. And the reason is I did not actually assign anything, right? I did not assign the result to anything, right? You can also do the print statement. It will just output. Welcome to data mining. I should see that. I'm gonna run this now. Yep, it just says welcome to data mining. Okay, now what we're gonna do, this one is an assignment operator, less than and then a minus sign, right? This will create X and it's gonna assign 3 to an X. And then if I want to output the X, I'm just gonna run X. This is a shortcut to print X. Here, what this will do is, this will execute two commands at the same time. So what it will actually do is it will create Y, assign 5 to a Y, and then output the results. See this? You can nest the commands. So this is a shortcut. If you want to do assignment and output at the same time, you can do it like this, okay? You notice that what gets echoed here is the commands and also the comments. They got echoed in here. Now, rm command, you use it to remove the object from memory, right? Especially when you get to doing the text analysis. Sometimes you're gonna have huge matrices. If you don't need something, right? You're gonna run rm command to clear it out. But what this one will do is it will remove everything from the memory, because ls, remember, ls is gonna list what you have in the environment, right? So rs returns the list, and rm is gonna go through the whole list and remove it, right? Okay. Well, you have another one. It's a good one. Options. Well, for example, if output is too long, how long is that until it cuts off, or how many characters to show in the warning, etc. So there are multiple settings in here. Well, this is to clear the console window, right? It's similar to clicking Control L, or I think it's Command L on the Mac at the same time, right? So this is a way to clear programmatically. Well, def off, if I run it right now, it's gonna throw an error because I don't have any plots, but this is how you would clear the plots. And history 5 is gonna show the first comments in the history. So here it is, right? I can see the last 5 comments, right? History 5. 5, this is 5 most recent, or the last ones, right? Here you can create a vector, but remember this, C is a combine command. So what it's gonna do is it's gonna combine values 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? This is what it's gonna do here. But again, I'm not assigning anything to, and oops, okay, no problem. Okay, share. Okay, now, well, what's happening is this. I'm not assigning it to anything, right? I'm not creating any variables. What I'm doing in here, it's just gonna output what I have, right? I'm not creating anything, right? Now I'm gonna assign, but instead, oh, okay. Oh, the square parentheses mean, the square parentheses, this is a, okay. This is a position of the first element. See this? So this is a combine command, creates a vector, okay? And this one, it's a position of the first element in this row. It's gonna make more sense when we look at larger output when you have more than one row, okay? It's gonna make more sense when we have more than one row, so we'll get there shortly. Well, here we're going to create variable x, and we're going to assign the values from 1 through 5. But here I'm taking a little shortcut. So here, 1 column 5, it means take everything from 1 through 5. And the combine command is going to create a vector. Okay. Now what I'm doing here, I just output the x, right? And again, this is the position of the first element for right now, right? But you don't, it's actually kind of like not obvious to see until you have something with more than one line in the output. We'll get there, trust me. Okay, now so I have an x with 5 elements, right? What if I want to see the third element? I just put in a subscript here that I want to see the third element, right? Now class is going to give me the data type. Okay, str is going to show me the structure. In this case, this is just the integer, right, with values 1 through 5. Now here, I can use combine command to list the elements. Perhaps I want to go 1 through 5 and then 8 through 10. So I can do like this, 1 through 5, comma, 8 through 10, right? There is a lot of it you can do. And here, this is just the output, the value of y. Here, this will output elements 3 through 6. Now, why I'm showing you this? Because later on, we're going to get to complex stuff, right? This easy stuff is part of the complex stuff. So I have to show this, right? So this is going to be elements of the vector at the position 3 to 6, right? And now class of y, I think it should be an integer, isn't it? Yes, because I use the numbers. And str, it's going to show you that it's an integer. Now this is a vector. I can multiply. Well, what do you think I'm going to do times 2? It's going to multiply all elements of this vector by 2, right? So let's go ahead and let's check. Yes, that's what it does. It multiplies every single element by 2. Next thing on the list is the sequences, right? Well, here, what we do, well, the way it works is that you specify the number of elements, you specify where to start from, right? And you specify the increment. But here, I did not specify where to start, right? I specify I want 10 elements, but I did not say that I want to start from 1 or something, but it's going to do start from 1 by default, and it's going to do increment by 1 by default. So let me run this. Let's see, this is going to do numbers 1 through 10. Here, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to say I want to start from 2, right? So this will start from 2, and I'm going up to 10. See, 10 elements. Oh, and this is you just specify the starting and the ending. This is what you do. Starting, ending, and this one you're going to specify the increment, right? So, and then you output. But again, if you want to learn more about the command, this is what you do. You put a help, you put a question mark, which is a help command, and then you type the command name, right? This is how you get help, right? And it's going to show the command in here. Well, you see this input parameters it takes. It takes from, to, and then it's going to take by, right? So here, this is how you use the help system, right? And I'll show you more, but I just showed you. Okay, so here, right? This will output the sequence. This is M, and I specify how much I want to increment by. Oh yes, this is the next topic, getting help. Help command. Well, there is more than one way to do this. I can type question mark and help. This is what I usually do. Alternatively, you can type help, right? But suppose that, well, okay, let me see the question. Yes, I like questions. Why M and Y? M and Y. Well, let me see. The number and W. Okay, a number and W and Z are integers. Oh, that's a good question. Well, because this is a vector, right? And X and Z, are they a vector? Like if I'm looking in here, oh, this is an excellent question. Yes. Oh, yes, this is an excellent question. This is an integer, and the elements are 1 through 10, right? This is an excellent question. I need to look at this. Okay, so M. Oh, we created the sequence here. Oh, but here, see this? If you notice that this is not consecutive, right? This is not consecutive. You see 2, 4, 6, 10. But this one is going from 2 to 10 non-stop, right? Well, this is an excellent question. I like this question. Okay, I hope I answered it. I'm trying my best, but okay. So see, this is like taking 1 through 10, right? The values, see that the values are straight 1 through 10. And here, well, it's a numeric because see how it is. There are 8 values, but they're not in a sequence. That's what I'm thinking. I could be wrong with. Okay, now let's look. I hope I answered. But now let's take a look at this here. Well, suppose that I don't know how to spell the word bar plot, right? If I don't know how to spell, apropos command it lets me, a propose command lets me display the commands that contain this bar in a name. So I perhaps I don't know how I spell it, right? So this is going to give me the list of available commands that contain the word bar, and then I can look up what I want and I just run help command, right? So this is what you do when you're not sure how to spell. And then this one is just going to give examples, right? And you can do rsite search for the command. Okay, you can do rsite search. Okay, this is going to do this, right? Now, well, here, up to for today, for the homework that is due tomorrow, you were using the data that is pre-installed. But next assignment, you're going to be using data that is not pre-installed, right? The data will be sitting somewhere on your C drive. In my case, I have a folder on my C drive and I called it datasets. And this is where I saved all my files. First thing that I need to do is I have to set my working directory to the datasets, right? So when I read the file, this is a folder where I want the file to be read from. So set wd command with do it. It will set the data, the working directory. Now, I like to verify my work. So if I do the get wd, this will display what my working directory is, right? So this is how I verify. But also, if you see this title bar, that's showing me this what the directory is. See it here? It shows me what the directory is. But since what if I don't have nice windows, right? This is how I do programmatically. And then this is how I list the files in the directory programmatically, because sometimes I don't remember the exact name. And this one here, it checks for existence of the file, right? So now, suppose we know that the file exists, we have to read this file, right? Well, here this is a little bit tricky because you have to specify as is set to false. Because if you don't do this, there is a problem with how it's going to read the columns. Some of the columns will not be read correctly, right? Yes, you will get the slides, absolutely. Absolutely, no problem. After this session, you're going to receive the recording, right? It will be on YouTube, and you're gonna get the slides, you're gonna get the file and a copy of the data. So that way you'll be able to follow along. But what you'll need to do is you'll need to create a folder called datasets, right? Either create folder or change the code, right? Put different code, right? So you're gonna need to replace this here, oops, D, this is a C, right? You're gonna need to replace C, right, with whatever your drive is, right? You're gonna need to, okay, but you're gonna get this code too. And this is a file. And now you need to read the file, but well, what you do here is that you have to specify the file name. Header, this means that I want to keep my table, my headings, right? Whatever is in a CSV file, the first row is a heading, I want to keep it. And this one, it means that data is comma delimited. Well, as is, you have to specify this parameter. If you don't do, you will see how it's read. It's gonna read the, it will read the columns with, see, some columns, they have like numeric values, right? But they're a factor. Well, it's gonna read them incorrectly. It's gonna read them as character. So, well, as is should be set to false. And if you don't do it, you're gonna see the issue when you start running the summary command, and we'll get to that command, right? So as is equals false. Well, you have to do it, especially if you have factor variables, right? Starting from version 4, I believe. Okay. Now, what this will do, it will give you the spreadsheet view of the file, of the data, sorry. Well, did I run it? I need to run it, right? This will create something called the data frame. But remember this, Any change that I make here, it will be made only to this data frame in memory. I'm not making changes, any changes to the file on a C drive, right? I'm only making changes to this data frame. It's an R object where I'm reading this data. See this? And I'll show you what it is. But first, look, you want to, this view command is going to open this in a spreadsheet view, right? This is a spreadsheet view, right? This approach is not going to work very well for the large files, right? But also what you can do is you can see the first 6 rows. To see the first 6 rows, you can do the head command. And if you don't specify the number of rows, it's going to do 6 by default, right? But Elena does not like to rely on defaults, right? I still like to specify usually. And let's say I want to put 10. So that's going to show me the first 10. Similarly, tail, but tail is going to do the last 6 or last 10 if I specify I want 10, right? So far we're good. It should be good so far, right? Now, earlier we were running some str commands to show the structure, right? Now what we're gonna do, you can also run str commands to show the structure of the data frame, right? Str is gonna show the structure. Well, run. See this, what you see in here when you expand this. This is a structure of this data frame. But I want you to know how to do it programmatically, because this window will not always be available for you, right? So here it's showing me the number of rows, the number of columns. Here, well, see this again. Oh, see this? When you have a numeric, it believes that you can have the real numbers. See, it thinks that you're gonna have the real numbers. That's what the difference is. And integer, it knows that you're gonna have the whole numbers. See that? Because when I created the first two, when I created one of the sequences, I specified the increment, right? So that's why I did the numeric, because of how it has to do with how I defined it. But here, see this integer, it's because, so here, over here, we have the predefined set of values, right? Well, right now it does not see it as a factor, but at least it does not see it as a character. If I did not specify as is set to false, this would read this as a, this would read actually this one, department, as a character. Oh, that's why. See this? If you don't specify as is equal false, this, it would read this one incorrectly. It would read it as a string, but this is a factor because we know we have a predefined set of departments, right? We have a finite set of departments. Salary, in this case, it's a high, low, medium. It's how this data is, right? Here for the factor, it tells me the number of levels, so which means the number of values that this department can have. Then it's gonna show me, well, the values are numbered, right? So here, 8 means that it takes a value at the position number 8, right? And etc. See here, this takes a value at the, this takes level 2 rather, right? So which is low. The second row, it's gonna be the 3, which is medium. Well, that's how it stores this. This is a str command, shows you the structure, right? It does not show you the actual data, but it shows you the structure. It does not show you the statistics part. Class, I'm just gonna show that it's a data frame. Is data frame, I'm just gonna show if it's a data frame. So far so good? I hope you're good so far, right? Now, there are several ways to display the names of the variables. Why do you want to do it? Because sometimes you might have a code where you want to iterate through all columns. You want to do something for all columns, right? So you have to know how to do it programmatically. You can do names or you can do col names. It both will return the column names, right? What did I say about R? There is more than one way to do the same thing, right? Now in your assignment, well, somewhere you may have seen this command dimension, dim. DIM, it's going to show how many rows, number of rows and number of columns. Okay, Now, suppose that I want to see only, oh, so here it is. I promised you guys, I promised you that we're going to look at output with more than one row. So let's take a look at this here. Column names in HR. This is the output wraps into 4 rows. It's telling me that the first element is at position 1, the first element in the first row. Now here, average monthly hours is at position 4, left is at position 7, and salary is at position 10. That's what it does. I hope it makes more sense now, because it did not make sense when it's only one row. It's hard to see. So now it should, right? Hopefully. I hope I answered the earlier question. Dim is going to show me dimensions, but sometimes I want to know only the number of rows. So, but this is what you can do. Look at this. This output itself, it was a vector, right? And the first element of that vector is a number of rows. So I take this output of the dimension command, and I take the first dimension. It's going to give me the number of rows. Who would have thought, huh? But I'm giving you multiple ways because depends on which book you're looking at, or depending on which help site you're looking at, it could be done differently, right? So here, there are multiple ways to show the number of variables or number of columns. See this end call, right? You can do also length, right? Or you can do take the second dimension, right? Or you can do even this. Well, remember that names is going to return all the column names, right? But length of the list of column names is number of columns. So in case you see that. Now, one of the questions that you need to answer is the difference between the summary and str command, right? What did str command do? It showed the structure, but it does not show something like minimum, maximum, right? It does not. If you want to see the minimum, maximum thing, you need to run the summary command. So what does it do? The statistics and what information is different depending on the data type. So here, satisfaction level, this is, it shows in me the minimum, first quartile, median, mean, second quartile range, and the maximum. This is also known as a 6-number theory, right? 6-number summary, sorry. Okay. Now here, what is this NAs? Well, that means that I have one row where last evaluation value is missing, right? And I will talk about missing data also. But I have one row somewhere where I don't have a value, right? That's what it's doing here. Here, this is for the categorical. What it's gonna do is it's gonna show 6 most dominant values and the number of rows that have each value. And then it will take the remaining value and group them. It will bin them into category called other. So in here, for example, sales department, technical support, IT, product management, right? And marketing. Those are the most dominant ones. And the least dominant ones are combined into other. By default, it does 6. But what I did was, I did a little homework and I found out how to change the number of levels that it could show. A MaxSum, it's a input parameter that you can use to change. Like for example, see this, I changed it to 9. Now it's showing 9. Well, if there are only 3, it will show 3, but if there are like 10, for instance, right, it can show 9. This is how you change this, okay? Now, suppose that, just assume I'm looking at the large data set, and I'm only interested in statistics for one column, satisfaction level. So what am I going to do? Am I going to look through the whole list of columns here? Probably not. I want to be able to run this command just for one column. To do this, you're going to put the data frame name, you're going to put a $sign, and then you're going to put the column name, right? This is how you do it. And this will show the summary just for the satisfaction level. Okay? See this? It's showing you the 6-number summary. That's how you know that it's numeric, right? Okay. Now what you do, well, if you could also suppose that I'm interested only in the minimum, right? I don't want to clutter my output here. Well, no problem. I can run the minimum command, right? Minimum, and it's gonna give me the minimum. And here I can see minimum and maximum, right? But now I'm gonna say, wait a minute, something is missing, right? So standard deviation is missing, right? So what you can do, you can run SD command and it will give you the standard deviation. Unique, it's gonna display the unique values of the department. Alternatively, you can do levels because this is a factor, right? Levels are unique values, right? So here it is, those are my departments. And again, accounting is at position 1. This one, this department is in position 7, right? Okay, I hope it makes sense. Now, well, this one, this is just the, I can do the maximum satisfaction per department. That's what it's doing. Function is maximum, and I'm doing it at the department level. That's what this does, right? Well, okay, well, maximum in each department is 1. Okay, now what we're gonna talk about is taking a subset. Earlier, I showed you how to display the first 6 row, perhaps, right? But here, I can specify the columns, right? For example, I can see the first 5 rows and the first 3 columns, right? The way you do it, you put the data frame name. Then in the square brackets, you need to specify the rows range and then the columns range, right? Well, here I specify that I want to do rows 1 through 5, but I did not specify the column. See this, I have a comma and then the columns are omitted. Well, it means that I want to show all columns. And note this, it wraps, right? It's because if the output does not fit on the same page, if you will, right? On the same screen, it will wrap the output. Okay. Now, here I just ran it, right? I did not assign to anything, so I don't have anything new in here because I did not assign. But I want to create a new data frame here, and I want to assign it the first 5 rows. I can do that, right? And you see this, I've got my new data frame. What I'm doing? I'm not checking it programmatically, huh? Elena told you to check it programmatically, and what is she doing right now? Well, it's okay, just for this session. Okay, now, well, here, I just created this an assignment. Here, I want to select the first 5 rows and the 3 columns, right? This is what I'm gonna do right now. 3 columns and first 5 rows. Okay, now here, this is another way to select 6 columns because names is a list of columns, right? And I want 1 through 6. Well, I'm showing this because we don't know what it's gonna be in a book you're reading, right? So I try to show as many ways as I can think of. Now here, suppose that I don't want to, the columns I want to see are not consecutive. I want to see columns 1, 4, and 5. I don't need to clutter with my output with 2 and 3 if I'm not interested in it, right? So you can use combine command. See this? I'm using the combine command. And here in parentheses, right, I'm creating, this is like a vector of that contains the column numbers that I want, right? So I'm gonna run this. And this is a columns, right? 3 columns. Alternatively, what I can do is I can put the names. I can put column names in here, right? This is column names. Oops. Right? So it's still gonna give me the first 5 rows and the column names. But if I did not specify the rows, it's gonna give me everything. But the output does not fit on the screen. See this? It tells how many rows are omitted. How much fit on the screen, it depends on the settings. Earlier we looked at the settings, right? The settings tell there is a setting for how much you want to fit on the screen, right? When the output should cut off or whatever you call it, crop or whatever. Well, this is all rows, right? Usually, sometimes you run it because, well, sometimes it's part of the logic of what you do and you need to do it, right? Well, here, salary is 1 column, right? And this is how you display the first four values in the column. You put this HR $ salary, and in here it shows you the position you want to see. Here, well, this is the conditional, right? I want to select the rows that meet a certain criteria, right? Instead of specifying the row number that I want to see, I specify show me the rows where salary is medium. Well, remember in this example, the salary is low, medium, high. This is how this data was created. So I'm saying this here. I want rows where the salary is medium, and I want all columns because I didn't specify which columns I want, right? So this is gonna be, that's it, right? This is what I'm seeing now. I can have, well, this is how we do the end condition. I want to do a department HR, right? Well, if you can see it right now, I have a technical department, product management, accounting. I have multiple departments, but I could say that I want the salary medium and department HR, right? This is what it's doing. I can do and, okay? I can specify, I can do order, I can do and, I can combine multiple conditions here, right? Okay, I hope it makes sense. Well, next topic is just adding a variable. Well, it sounds like straightforward, right? Well, okay, well, I have time spent, we have time spent in the company, right? The time spent in the company is in years. But for some reason, suppose that in my calculation, I want to look at the month spent in the company. So what I did was I put the data frame name $, and this is the name of the new column, right? It's how I want to call the new column. An assignment, what am I assigning this to? I'm taking the time spent in the company and I'm multiplying it by 12, right? So it's gonna give me what number of months, roughly speaking. And then I preview, right? So let's do this. Let's run this. Let's run this. Okay, now you have to verify that the column was added as expected. Well, to verify, I can just do the head command and I can see where is my new columns that I added, right? Month spent. Then I can look at the time spent and multiply by 12, just the first couple of values, just to double check that it's, in fact, that's what it's showing me, right? Now, I no longer need month spent. One way to remove the column is to set it to null. So that might be the easier way to do it, right? To just set it to null. Then I have to run the head command, or I can run the names command again to verify that the column was deleted, right? We have to verify. Now here, sometimes the problems are a little bit complicated. You want to know perhaps the top 10, who's the top 10 satisfied employees, right? Or you want to know who are the employees who had the top 10 number of projects, right? Who had them? In this case, to identify the top 10 or bottom 10, what you have to do is you need to sort the list, right? And sorting could also help with identify the duplicate values because they're going to be like adjacent, right? When you sort. Well, what you do in here, you use the order command. Order specifies how to use the rows, right? So here I want to take all columns, but I want to take all rows, but I want to order them by the satisfaction level. Now, I did not specify how I want to do it. By default, it's going to do ascending. By default, it's going to do ascending. And I'm going to create new data frame. I'm going to call it HR sorted, right? Then I need to know, how do I verify that the sort work? I have to run the head command and I preview it, and then I go back to my satisfaction thing, right? And I'm going to check. I'm going to check if it's sorted, right? Satisfaction level. Well, it's in here. Well, I would need to output more values to see it, or pick a better example, okay? Because there are too many values of 0.09, okay? But usually when you run the command, you need to test yourself to make sure that the command worked, right? This is what you asked in exercise 2, I believe. It says verify that this was done as expected. So you need to run the head command to check, right? Well, this is for you, just mainly to see how things work. Well, here by default it's doing ascending, but if I want to sort descending, I have to put this minus sign right before this. Okay, if I put this minus sign, it's going to sort descending. And also, well, head is going to show me the first 10, right? And here I'm assigning it to the sorted, HR sorted. And then I'm checking the last 10. Also, what I could do is I can sort by multiple columns. So basically, I'm sorting by satisfaction level, ascending, right? But what if I have too many people with the same satisfaction level? Then I want to do the number of projects that we're on. It's like a secondary sort column, right? So if I have several people with the same satisfaction level, they will be ordered based on the number of projects, right? Now we talked about factor variables, right? Factor is a categorical. When you know you have a predefined set of valid values, that's what it is, okay? Well, for example, we know that, well, sometimes the factor with numeric values is read as a number. You have to, well, it depends on what method you use. Some methods accept factor column. So you have to, this is how you convert it to the factor. You use the factor function and it takes your column as an input, right? Factor function, right? And now what you need to do is you need to, well, you look at the summary of this command, right? See how the results have changed. Right now it's going to give me a value and the number of records, number of rows that have each value. And is factor is going to check if this is a factor. That's another way to verify the work, right? So just remember that. When it says verify the work, you need to run the command that shows that what you did actually happened, right? This is what it is. Well, the goal here is to teach you how to troubleshoot, not just to, so later on, if you get in an error, like variable does not exist, what you're gonna do? You have to check if it was actually declared, right? So you're gonna do the print statement, something along this line, okay? Now, well, what you can do with a single variable also, you can do the frequency count. I'm aware that it shows it already, but I'll still show you because see, you need to know how to do it. Well, you need to know how to do it programmatically, and you need to know how to do it for two variables, right? Well, here, this is just showing me for the salary. Now, what else I want to do is this is going to show me the proportion of people for each salary, right? That's what it did. Here, this is going to do the salary, and the left, this is going to do the frequency table, the cross tabulation of two variables. So I ran this. Well, here it's showing me that 82 people is with a high salary left, and zero, about 1,155 people, they stayed, right? Something like that, with people with a high salary. That's what it's doing. And look at where the higher retention is. Okay, so this is what he will do here. I mentioned earlier that there are missing values. Why does it matter? Well, missing value, it means there's no value, right? Unknown or null, if you will. In R, missing values are represented as NA. So let me see the question. What does 0 and 1 imply? Well, 0 and 1 are the values of the left field, left column. And if you look at the dataset description, I believe 1 means the employee state, and 0 means the employee state with the company, and 1 means employee left the company. So that's what they stand for. Those are the values of the column. Let me know if it makes sense. Well, the value is 0, right? if the employee stayed or if the employee left. And this is a cross tabulation. So it's telling me that I have this is a 5,129 employees who had a minimum salary level and they stayed. That's what it is, right? Let me know if I answering the question, because yeah. Well, those are just the values. This is how the data set was defined, so to speak, right? And this data set, in fact, works well for, it could work well for logistic regression also, okay? But well, this should also work for, well, it might work for logistic regression, but we need to do some conversions. But it would work for decision tree classification mostly, for the most part, right? Okay, now what we will look at here, we can now look at this. Last evaluation column has a missing value. Now I want to calculate the column mean. I want you to see the problem. See this? I cannot calculate the column mean. It's because the missing value throws everything off. So there is an option to ignore missing value in the calculation. NARM equals true. This will still do the calculation regardless of the missing value. It will just skip the missing value, right? Well, this is what I'm telling it to do, okay? But will you be doing it like this way all the time? Probably not. You want to handle missing values, right? First of all, before you learn how to handle them, you need to know how to check for them. What any command will do is it will check if anything ever in this data set has a missing value, right? Any is going to check if any of the values is missing, okay? Well, it returns true. It means there is nothing missing. Well, if it returns true, it means that the data has at least one value missing. So, well, you started from here, and you know now that this command returns true. So the data has at least one missing value. It means that we have to do our homework on how do we handle missing values, right? But how do we handle depends on how many values are missing, which columns are missing, which columns are significant for our study, etc., right? Or sometimes, well, when you have a column which is missing data for half of the records, perhaps, right? Then, you know, you might be better off dropping off the column, right? Than losing 50% of data, right? So if you have a column which missing most of the data, you probably want to drop the column rather than dropping the records with missing values, because you're losing valuable data, right? So there are a lot of considerations here. Well, here, this one checks if there are missing values at all. This one is going to show me how many values are missing in each column, right? So I'm just going to do the run. Oops. Oh, here it is, run. Okay. So this one, well, it tells me that I've got 2 missing values somewhere, right? But I don't know where, right? So now, well, here I can check if my column is has any null values, right? Is an A. This is what I do, and it will check if there are any value or how many instances are missing the value. This will return the number of rows that are missing the last evaluation value. That's what it's gonna do. Okay. Now, then I want to know which row is missing a value. I want to pinpoint at the culprit, right, so to speak. So I'm gonna do the run which command, right? Well, this will show me I've got 2 rows, right? Well, I've got some rows that have a missing values. Now, what I could do is I could eliminate the rows with missing value. It all depends on my data, okay? Now, this command is going to show me only the complete commands, okay? I mean the complete data. I mean the data without missing values. this will show only the rows with missing values. Okay. Oh, now, I'm sorry. Complete shows complete without this exclamation point. Will show only the complete. But if you see the exclamation point, it's gonna show the incomplete. Okay. Exclamation point stands for not. So not means here it means show incomplete, right? Oops, yes, incomplete or has missing values. Okay, now here, well, this one will just show you how many instances are missing a value for each variable, right? So I know which variables are missing, but I want to know how many are missing, right? So I'm gonna do this run, right? There we go, right? Well, this is just finding out the information. Now we're gonna talk about how to handle. Well, what I'm doing in here, I'm creating a new data frame, and I'm gonna use an omit command. So it's gonna take the HR data frame, it's gonna strip out the rows that no longer in use, right? And it's gonna print this information. It's gonna show you this information, okay? Now, well, let me see. Well, that was the refine. Okay, so we did that. Next, what we could do is so hold on. We did that, right? With on missing values right now. Well, it is an A command. You use it to check it if the value is missing, right? And here I specify the column. It means it's gonna check if the value is missing for that column. See this for last evaluation column, number of years since last evaluation. Sorry. So I reported it, right? I mean, I would reported it, right? Which ones are missing? Here, I'm just not handling anything. I'm just finding out what is missing, right? Sorry. Now to display the observations, if at least one variable is missing a value, you're gonna do this, not complete. You're gonna do not complete, right? Let me go ahead and run it. It's gonna do incomplete cases. Cases with missing values, also called the incomplete. This is how R calls it. Okay. So now here, also here you can check how many rows are missing a value for each variable, right? So basically, in your exercise too, when you're asked to check to verify if the missing values have been taken care of, you can pick these commands, right? Any of these commands and run it. You can say, hey, let's look at how many instances are missing a value for each variable. You can do as easily as this. And if you see zeros across the board, it means you don't have any more missing values, right? But I don't see zeros across the board. I see a couple ones. So it means that I'll have to do something to handle it, right? So as I may have mentioned this, an omit or this complete cases that will only take the data that is complete. It will omit the rows with missing values, but we have to be careful because sometimes we may end up losing valuable data, right? There is another option is to replace the missing value with the column mean, column average, right? So how do you do this? This is a bit tricky because first of all, you have to remember that the missing value has an impact on the calculation of the mean. So what you have to do is on the right hand side, you have to say an ARM equals true. You have to do this in the last over here. You have to specify an ARM equals true. Otherwise, it will run into the error when it starts processing the rows with missing values. And here, this is just selecting the subset, right? See this? It's going to take the last evaluation, right? This is what it's doing in here. This one is taking the last evaluation and it's setting this to this, right? And it's setting it, it's gonna set it to the column average. Or okay, now I'm going to run this command, and then I need to verify that the command ran as expected, right? Well, in this particular case, I'm using the MaxSummary command, okay? But I can also do this command, the columns, right? I can do multiple ways to verify. Now, next topic. Well, this is, some people like this one because you can install different packages and play around with them. How do you see these available packages? This one here, it will show you the web page with a list of the packages that currently in the cron repository. So browse URL and let me see. I need to run this thing here. Browse URL and it's going to open the new window. And this is available cron packages. That's what I just did, right? Oops, okay. Now we're going to go back to, oops, RStudio, yes. Okay, now library command is going to show which packages are installed. But now remember, something that is installed does not mean that it's available. It could be installed, but it's not in the memory. So you have to run the library command, right? Well, library, it will list the installed packages rather. You need to run another command somehow to see which packages are in memory, right? And we'll get to it. But first, well, you can do search. This is one option, right? It's going to list the packages. I did search. It's going to give me which packages are loaded, right? Which ones are in memory, what I'm using right now. Here, what location of our system library and the user library. Oh, well, what this will do, it will show the locations of two folders. There is a folder on your PC where the pre-installed stuff is stored, and there is a folder where the personal stuff is stored. Okay, I saw you doing a work on a lab PC, right? I mean, on a work PC, sorry. Okay, so here, look at the C program files are, right? Well, this one, the first folder is in documents. Well, I just put it there, but those are the custom, those are the user libraries, right? And whatever went to the program files, it is system library. So there are two locations on my hard drive where I'm storing this, right? I'm storing I'm storing on one of them, right? On one place I have the system data, in another place I have the actual data that we are analyzing, if you will. Now here I'm not going to run it because I already installed it, but you run this command to install the package. Your first package is going to be a rules, association rules. So you're going to use it in the next assignment to do the discretization, or another word for discretization is binning. You're going to do this with R, with a third week assignment, week 3. It has an assignment, exercise and assignment. It has both. So speaking of week 3, if I were you, I would recommend trying to get your assignment done, right? If you finish assignment too early, you have time, you have extra time to work on this. You could start reading module 3, right? So because module 3, you can module 2, it's 2, right? There is a module with only 1 week with it. It's next time, I think. Okay, so install packages. This is going to install the package from the current repository usually. Library command that will put the package into the memory and you will be able to use, right? Now, you may have used to this stuff being here in this specific scenario, the message is red, but it's not an error. This message is informative. And what it tells me is that I have two packages, matrix and a rules. The package matrix, it has some dependencies, right? well, there are some dependencies in here. You cannot just launch one of this, right? And not the other, see? The thing is, well, this is how you add the package, but you want to be careful with what you delete too, because, well, there is no undo, right? If you delete something by mistake, there is no way to undo it. There is no, what do you call it, recycle bin, right? So now look at this. The package is installed, right? Let's see what the next step is. We installed the packages. We what else? But the package is not available, right? Well, because if I go back to even if I go back to the built-in packages, right? Like the one with git, right? It's not gonna be, well, it might be, I might still see it here, but I'm not gonna see any very personal information, if you will, right? But Jesus, you're gonna find this list. Okay, now let's see. Well, rules, right, require and library, it's almost the same, and it's an alternative way to load the package in the memory. Oops. Okay, so I would need to run this, right? Well, this is just required means, well, I loaded the package to memory. Let's make it simple. If I don't know what this function returns, I can run my help command, and I can learn a lot about this a priori rules, or about whatever I'm running, right? In this case, I'm running the package. So the help is on a package. So I can type the package name, and then I can get an information on what you are running here, right? Okay, now what else we'll do? Well, so we know this now. Okay. VNet, well, some packages come with some examples. That's what a VNet is, just an example, extra example on how to use the package. Browser widgets, it's, well, we're not gonna use that in this course for this assignment, right? We're not gonna use the browser widgets. Okay, now, well, what you do is, so you just, well, you see the VNet, right? Then this command here is to update the packages. Sometimes, well, as we speak, the new versions of R packages get developed. So sometimes you have to upgrade, right? Okay, so, well, this one will update the packages. And so it says select the most recent package version, right? Now in here, oh, well, oh, what I also did was I thought I put some examples on how to delete, right? Well, you can delete from the memory, or you can also delete it permanently, right? You may delete this from memory, or you may delete it permanently. Okay. Now, well, this was detach will remove from memory, and the remove packages will remove the, well, permanently, if you will say, right? Now, data visualizations. How do we use each? Well, this could be important, right? Well, if you use a histogram, you must have a numeric variable. You must show the frequency, right? How often the value falls under the specific range. So just an example, right? So you have here average monthly hours, and we're gonna plot the histogram for average monthly hours, right? So let's just assume this was your assignment. Well, you see the histogram. Are you done? Well, how to tell you? You are done for a B, but what do you want to do if you want to get an A? You would probably want to go a little bit beyond. You're gonna just run, you probably want to run the help command, right? You're gonna do the question mark, and then you're gonna type the histogram. Oops, that will return the help page for this command, right? Let me see. This returns a help page for this command. Well, in your assignment, you have those two questions, something similar next to each other intentionally, because what we want you to do is we want you to look at the help page, but we also want you to read some part of it at least, right? And then when you learn about the histogram command, go and do more. Not just do the histogram. Perhaps we want to change the number of breaks, right? Or perhaps I want to set a blue border. Or maybe I want to also change the color, right? I can change more colors. So let me see. This is just a column color. This is just going to change the column to blue, right? Also, you may combine multiple input parameters. Well, see this as you see it here. I specified the density, I specified the angle, I specified the brakes, everything here. But see this, and it gave me this. But I can keep on, if I needed to, if I had to, I would keep on searching different input parameters and trying it, right? That's what you are asked to do, I believe. Histogram command, but you're not limited to running the command itself without parameters. Go in and explore it if time allows, as much time allows, okay? This is a histogram. That one we just did, right? Multiple, okay. Now here, I wanted to look at the salary, but in this case, well, bar plot, it takes a frequency table as an input, both bar plot and pie chart. It takes the frequency table as an input. They show really well the relative size, but there is a problem with the pie chart because if you have, it depends on how many values you have to display, right? If you just have to display too many values at some point, the pie chart gets harder to read, right? So you choose wisely here. Well, but this one, it just, this one, well, there is more. You can order the bars ascending, right, and etc. There are different options. But what you could also do is you can take my example and you can also change the title. Well, do you see this? This is a problem with the title here. You could also, well, I'm not sure, but you could add more stuff to it, right? Change different color, etc. Don't just copy the command, but go in and modify it for your data, okay? Now, so, well, this is a bar plot. There are multiple ways to do it. And here, I'm storing my table in a variable, and then I just pass the table into the function. Okay. Now here, I want to do the sorted. This is what I was saying. I can do the sorted in ascending order, right? Like this. Or I can also, well, so this is sorting it by the salary. I can do, well, I remove the horizontal sorting, I believe. Now here, well, this is also sort, but the show's just different. It's descending, and it's just different way to show the same thing. Well, here, I'm not storing the table in a separate variable. What I'm doing is just, well, I'm taking the pie chart function, well, and I'm passing it this table, right? HR hierarchy. So let me run this again. Run it. I hope it all makes sense, right? Okay. Well, okay, here, yeah. Oh, run, please run. Okay, got it. Well, see, here it is, right? But what I could also do, if I wanted to, I could change colors. I could decide if I want to see the labels such as like numbers or percentage, right? Well, those are the types of things that you expect to see with a pie chart, right? Well, okay, that was a pie chart, and this is a box plot. This is for numeric values, right? You get this number theory, physics number, 5-number theory, right? But you have to do it only for the numeric. And then you've got a generic plot function that tries to pick up the data types, right? Well, this just tries to pick up the data type. And this one, well, if you have the two vertical variables, if you like, right? So that's gonna be like this. See, well, it's reading as if you have a two. Okay. So then you run this command and etc. You run this, it's a plot. Both columns are numeric, so just run this. It's difficult to read, but I'm just showing you the purpose, so to speak, right? Okay, and I have to save it because I made change. Oh, okay, I'll save it. Never mind, I'll save it later. Okay, so here, well, this is here, but now I'm gonna go back to the slides. I need to make sure that nothing in the slide was missed, right? Well, you got the console. It's also called the little bars that you see. It's a command prompt. You may type commands in the console, or you may do the script. I recommend doing the script because you have to make sure that your work is reproducible. Oh, and another thing that this is, see, there are some details that I may have forgotten to show you. Well, see, this is global environment. You can see the list view, or you can see the grid view. When you switch to the grid view, you may remove the variables individually. See this? And I click on yes, okay, and it will do it. Well, this is how you do it. This is in a grid view. But if this is something like part of your program that should happen regularly, you know, that has to be programmatic, right? Okay, now, well, so this is this. Now, so we're going back to the slides. Well, I saw this thing list, and then I go, wait a minute, I forgot to tell you. Okay, well, remember we ran the view command to see the data set, right, in like a spreadsheet format. You can also do the same thing if you click on that here. You may click here, and this will also run the view command for you. Okay. Now we talked about the sequences, we talked about the vectors, right? Well, here it's just showing you how to get the help page for the bar plot, right? And just an example, nothing else. Oh, and at the top it tells you which package this bar plot is in. Okay. Here, well, I showed you how to look at the history, right? One thing that I forgot to show you is this: when you go to the history, you can select the command, and then you can send this command to the you can send this command either to console, or you can send this to the script, right? And you can run this command. But I want to send it, let's say I want to send this to the console, and then I want to run it. See, I click in here to console. Well, you select the history command that you want to rerun, and you just click on it, and you just send to console and run it, right? But still, you want to make sure that you have a script. It's much easier to rerun the whole file than remembering what you did and when, right? Okay, well, because I mean, everybody makes mistakes, and so did I, you know. Okay, now next thing. Oh, well, sometimes when I go through the slides, I'm oh, I mean, I forgot to tell you this. Remember, this working directory is location in a hard drive where you want to look at first, right? Well, and we use this concept for reading data from the files that were stored on a hard drive. It's gonna happen on exercise 2, right? And reading and previewing data that's not in a package, not in one of the built-in packages, right? So here on the slides, I just summarized everything that I was talking to you about, right? I was talking to you about this, and I just summarized it. Here, I just explained why we are sorting, right? And also, some methods work better when the data is sorted. Well, because if you're using an index, you don't need to literally search through every single instance, right? So this is a benefit. But the issue could be sometimes if something keeps changing a lot, right? Then you have to somehow resort, if you will, right? Well, Well, this is about the factor variables. You have this. We talked about missing values, right? And we talked about the packages. Well, here, well, these are additional useful commands for the package. You want to check which packages are user installed. You want to check which packages are loaded, and etc. Right? You want to open the package documentation page. Well, this is how you do it. You put library, help, and then put the package name. I mentioned VNet. A rules package has a VNet, right? So it's a PDF file with a bunch of example, right? Well, this is a location. Sometimes you might be wondering where it's saving, right? And this will put in the memory required, right? Now, important, the package names are case sensitive. So if I type something, Yelena with the uppercase Y, it's not the same thing as Yelena with a lowercase y. Those are the different people, okay? Well, I summarized when you use each plot because there are so many visualizations and I wanted you to know when to use which. Well, how do you exit RStudio? You just run this Q command, right? And there are two files that get saved, probably in a working directory. It's going to save the state of the data that it was in and the history of the commands. This is that's the workspace. The workspace, it's a collection of the R objects, so to speak, right? It's loaded when you start the R session. And R workspace contains SQL files, the outputs, and etc. Right? Well, and okay. And those are the different courses. Well, it used to be called Big Data University, now it's called Cognitive Class. And they offer a series of free coursework, right? It's just self-guided, not instructor-led, but well, first of all, you need to have a background. After you have this course as a background, you can go in more depth and search, check these ones. Sometimes you get like, as I give you like a badge for completion, sometimes it's just certificate, depends on the course, but I watched some of those. But using Arvis database, this is a topic for the 650, so don't worry about this, okay? Now, what else is in here? Oh, there are a couple of groups in LinkedIn that I'm a member of, and if you like our programming, feel free to join, right? Well, this is just some documentation. Well, I had to list some of the references because that's how it is, right? I didn't make everything up that I was presenting, so I had to list some of the sources that I used, so to speak. Okay. Oh, another thing is that why do we remove the variables sometimes? Well, think about it this way. You have a data set, but the data set could have a personal identifying information, such as social security number, that you don't need and you cannot use for analysis, right? So sensitive information, that's one reason you remove the column. Another reason is that it could be unique identifier, right? So perhaps each record is numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. But maybe even not in the order, but it's something that, if it's something that identifies the row uniquely, some methods won't be able to run, especially neural network method, right? You have to remove the identifier to run it, okay? Especially depends on number of values, right? But that's another reason. Another reason is data is skewed. Like for example, suppose that I have a column in there and I call it country, and the value is United States, USA for everybody. So does this column help in our analysis? No, we're gonna throw it out, you know, things like that to pay attention to. Well, then you also look if the column is missing half of the values, and that's another candidate for removal, right? There are multiple factors. You just need to list a few in the assignment. So I covered anything for exercise 1 and most of the big chunk of exercise 2. That's what we did today. Are there any questions? I will see if I can answer. So, but see, like if it says numeric, it thinks that you might be taking the real numbers. But integers, it just clearly sees that it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. So yeah, but if there are any questions, guys, this is an opportunity to ask questions. Huh? Questions? Questions? But do you think later on in the semester it would help to have another session on some topics? Just let me know. If you would like to have something, let me know ahead so we can prepare. Because for other topics, there are some recordings, but you know, live session is a live session, right? No recording substitutes a live session.
Hi.
Yeah.
Actually, I was going to ask if we were going to have any more sessions. So you're saying there's nothing scheduled, but we can have something if we needed
Yes.
to?
Yes, it's a customer service. Remember?
Okay.
You remember it from data success? It's a customer service.
Yes.
So if people vote for it, I'll do it. But the reason we stopped having it is because of the attendance. People need to attend, right? It's like, okay, it's been recorded, oh yes, but then the school looks at it this way. The attendance is very little. Oh, it's recorded. Why do we need to do it if only 2 people attend? We just put the recording. So it's not just me, you know. You guys need to kind of like agree and attend. Then we'll do it. I'll be more than happy to do it. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I did not have I don't know if the other session did, but I don't think we had any recording in 620, and I
Oh,
think it was hard. So I think the recordings in 610 helped. So it would be nice if we could have, I mean, live sessions. I mean, live sessions.
okay. Okay, I'm gonna pass it along. I'm gonna talk to Professor Bati. Yes, so for your
Great.
session, TA's name, his name is Eric. And me, just if he is like a super swamp, because Eric also does a capstone course. So if he is super busy, then I'll help. And I'll do this. I'll be more than happy to do that, guys. So if you're interested, let Professor Bati know and Professor Gates, right? And we'll discuss which ones, which topics, and we'll do them. Absolutely, we can do a couple more at least. Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Yes. Remember that customer service, right? Right. So if you
Yes.
need
Thank
it,
you.
yes, you have to request it. That's a thing, right? Remember how it was with data 610 videos? You had to request it, and I add, and now there's a library in there. You were in 610 a couple semesters ago, I think, right? So
Yes.
you
Yes.
remember how that works with me, right?
Yes, I do. Thank you. Yep.
Yeah, and you will see me again in 650, hopefully. Hopefully, if I still
Okay.
stay. No, I've been in the with UMGC for like almost 13 years now, so long time. Yes.
Oh, all right. Great. Thank you.
Yes. So are there any more questions? Anything? Huh? Well, if there are no questions, I'm gonna stop sharing. I'm gonna stop the recording. And what I'll do is I'm gonna give the recording to both instructors, right? I don't know which session you're in, but the way we usually do it is this: we schedule it and we invite people from all sessions. There are usually 2 sessions each semester, right? Okay. So I want to guys thank you for your support, so to speak, for attending this. And I'm gonna have a discussion with your instructors. Okay. Oh, I have something in the. Oh, okay. Okay, you're most welcome, guys. So thank you, and I'm gonna stop the recording. And I'm gonna.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Have a nice week. Right, it's Monday. Huh?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Good night.
Yeah, bye-bye. Let me see. Stop the recording. Okay, here it is.